Hi, I'm Dr. Dave Janda, and please welcome to our Operation Freedom platform, WeThePeopleProcessing.com. You know, are you tired of being threatened to be canceled just because you have a company focused on liberty and freedom? Well, worry no more, folks. WeThePeopleProcessing.com is your go-to merchant services, freedom-based company to provide business service payment solutions. We the People Processing provides their clients a cancel culture-free platform which is domestically based. They provide competitive rates, no contracts with next-day funding, a fully vetted and like-minded financial infrastructure, and full support for integrations, implementation, and e-commerce efforts. Bottom line, WeThePeopleProcessing.com focuses on defending your company's free market growth, values, and future. Check them out at www.WeThePeopleProcessing.com. Once you're on the site, enter in password Operation Freedom or call 855-499-2024. That's WeThePeopleProcessing.com. Then, when on the website, enter Operation Freedom as your password or call 855-499-2024.
Mr. President-elect, go ahead. Can you say categorically, Mr. President-elect, can you give us a question?
Don't be rude.
Can you give us a question?
Don't be rude. No, I'm not going to give you a question. I'm not going to give you a question.
Can you state categorically?
You are fake news.
Sir.
I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to Dave versus the MSM. I'd like to thank you for joining me today. Thank you for networking this information to anyone and everyone you know and love. Because the more people that are educated with the facts, the truth, the data, the more people that become empowered, the more people that awaken. And the sooner we end this reign of terror that has been at the hands of the globalist cult, the thugocracy, the New World Order, the criminal international banking syndicate, the shadow government, whatever you want to call it. It's all the same thing. A group of, and it's not that big a group, a couple 3,000 at the top, who are intent in stripping you and every person of the world of the remaining freedoms and liberties and future and life, and for those of us in the United States, stripping us of our constitutional republic. But you know what? Contrary to the propaganda that you see and hear, and the psychological operations that they're whipping at you 24/7, they're having trouble. Oh, they're having trouble. If they weren't having trouble, why would they be acting the way they're acting? Think about it. Are the globalist cult puppets easy to identify, right? The Bidens, Obamas, Bushes, Clintons, Romneys, McConnells, McCarthy's, Ryans, the Gates, the Faucis, Look how they're acting. People in the media, people going after, targeting, if you will, Elon Musk. They're not doing that because they're in a position of power. They're doing it because they're panicked and they're desperate. Contrary to popular belief, and this is not hopium, it's the truth, 2022, they had some victories. Yeah, their midterm thing, they, pulled off their usual, the whole ballot thing, and we've discussed that at length. Their operation, they did better than, yeah. But when it comes to an awakening process, oh, they lost big. The syndicate lost big. One of the reasons is that they're having trouble with their choke points. This is something I have discussed for decades. And in particular, 12 over 12 years since I started my Operation Freedom radio show out of the People's Republic of Ann Arbor in October of 2010. That there are people that are positioned by the cult, by the syndicate, in newspapers and magazines and radio stations and TV stations and in industry and in government, that are there to choke off any efforts of empowering individuals and pushing a freedom-based agenda. They're called choke points. I've talked about this before, but it bears repeating. I first became aware of choke points in 1988. In 1988, because of the work I had done in medicine and in particular in prevention-related research, it got the attention of then President Reagan, who I was contacted by President Reagan's staff to come to Washington and to work with then Surgeon General C. Everett Koop and a number of others on healthcare policy-related issues. And the first meeting that us new people came to, this would be toward the end of the Reagan administration, the spring of 1988, one of his staff members, I believe her name was Kathy, came in the room with several of us in there and said, now understand something. You are here to develop policy that does not have anything to do with the right-left axis. President Reagan's philosophy is that the right-left axis is theater, and it's meant to divide and conquer. Your goal and objective is to develop policy for the president and this administration that focuses on the up-down axis, up being freedom, down being oppression, and the policies you present to the president and this administration all focus on freedom and block those in government and in industry that are focused on oppressing people's freedoms. It became very evident that the people in government and in industry, including the media, that were focusing on the oppression side of the equations were choke points. Choke points. And the globalist cult's choke points right now are being overrun. They're being exposed and they're being overrun. And most recently, we have seen that with what Elon Musk has done. I know there are people who have reservations. I get it. But let's take a person's actions and see how those actions, how they're influencing the playing field. And right now, love them or hate them, Musk's actions are harming the syndicate's oppression, suppression, misinformation, disinformation, psyops operation, and their choke points. I first want to turn to a quote from Harry Brown, who's an American writer. Quote, "So what is government? Very simply, it is an agency of coercion." He wrote this years ago, by the way. Of course, there are other agencies of coercion, such as the mafia. So to be more precise, government is the agency of coercion that has flags in front of its offices, end quote. Probably the most visual representation of that recently, in this past 2022, who could forget Il Demente, Biden. Il Demente's Inferno, from like Dante's Inferno, Walk Through Hell. Inferno speech in Philadelphia, in front of Independence Hall, bathed in blood red lights, Marines, flags, where he outlined that tens of millions of Americans were essentially subversives. Yeah. Harry Brown called it years ago. And the reason why he did that is because, not out of power. He's a puppet, right? So are the Obamas and the Bushes and the Romneys and the McConnells and the McCarthys and the Pelosi's and the Schumers. They're all puppets. But why are they acting out like this? Because they see this awakening. They become aware of this awakening. They understand that their choke points are being removed. And they're desperate and they're panicked. And they're acting out. And that's good for 2023. We've come a long way. They don't want you to realize it. They want you to think we're losing. They want you to pack it in. This isn't hopium. It's an accurate assessment of the battlefield and dissipating the smoke and mirrors and of which they've been pros at and very good at, of distorting reality for years. But even those exposing the choke points, the fraud, they actually are amazed. Now, maybe they wouldn't be amazed. There's a clip I play on my radio show, I have for years, on a regular basis, by George Carlin, called It's a Big Club, and We're Not in It. If you haven't heard it, there's a number of my videos that have it in it. There's my radio show almost, at least once a month I play it. Or you can just do search engine of your choice. It's a Big Club, and We're Not in It, George Carlin. Everything George Carlin says, and I believe he said it like 20-some years ago, maybe 30 years ago, is accurate. So if Musk and those around him who are exposing this had watched that clip of George Carlin, it's about 5-6 minutes long, none of this would be surprising to them, and their jaws wouldn't be hitting the floor. This is from Zero Hedge. Quote, "My jaw just hit the floor," end quote. Musk fires Twitter's FBI Russiagate lawyer over vetting debacle. Now remember, it was phase 1 and phase 2 of these releases, and more to come. And in phase 1, somehow, the Deputy General Counsel, James Baker, who I've dissected before about this guy and this globalist, I don't know, whatever you want to call him, scum. And that's not being fair to pond scum, but his role on multiple different planes of adversely affecting you and every American and every actually person of the world, because it's been a freedom stripping agenda he's been a part of. James Baker was not initially fired when Musk got there. Now, it could be, I'm hoping this is the case, that Musk realized what this guy was about. And he wanted to give him enough rope to hang himself in public, which he just did. So Musk is a smart guy. He obviously has a lot of smart people around him. My guess is he knew what this guy was about. And he knew if he put him in a position, he would always do what's right for the right that Baker would for the cult, and would get caught. So just not innuendo, just not hearsay, but caught. And he just did. So phase 1, journalists Matt Taibbi from Rolling Stone and Barry Weiss, plan was they were going to get these files from Twitter and emails and then release them to the public. Well, it turns out that they were being sanitized, that they were being washed, if you will. Kind of like a Hillary Clinton, not quite as extensive bleach bidding, right? And Baker somehow got in charge of that. And it turns out that there's some questions, that there's some files that might have been deleted or withheld, and definitely withheld. And now Baker has been exposed even further, hopefully to criminal charges. Elon Musk announced that former attorney James Baker, who came to Twitter to serve as deputy general counsel, formerly of the FBI, has been fired after vetting, deep sixing, recently released evidence of Twitter's election interference unbeknownst to Musk. Quote, in light of concerns about Baker's possible role in suppression of information important to the public dialogue, he was exited from Twitter today, Musk wrote. Baker was involved in vetting information without the knowledge of management. We can now tell you part of the reason why, this from Zero Hedge. Twitter Deputy General Counsel and former FBI General Counsel Jim Baker was fired among the reasons vetting the first batch of Twitter files without the knowledge of new management of Musk and his team. Vetting means getting rid of, deep sixing, moving around, hiding, right, deleting, right, yeah. The process for producing the Twitter files involved delivery to two journalists, Barry Weiss and Matt Taibbi, via a lawyer close to new management. However, after the initial batch, things became complicated. Over the weekend, while we both dealt with obstacles to new searches, choke points, it was Barry Weiss who discovered that the person in charge of releasing, choking, the files was someone named Jim. When she called to ask Jim's last name, the answer came back, Jim Baker. Quote, my jaw hit the floor, end quote, said Weiss. Well, welcome. Watch George Carlin's It's a Big Club, and we're not in it. Your jaw won't hit the floor anymore, Weiss. The news that Baker was reviewing the Twitter file surprised everyone involved, to say the least. New Twitter chief, Elon Musk, acted quickly to, quote, exit Baker immediately. When asked if Baker was asked to explain himself, Musk replied, yes. His explanation was unconvincing. Musk went on to say, if this isn't a violation of the Constitution's First Amendment, what is? Twitter acting by itself to suppress free speech is not a First Amendment violation because of, well, terms of agreement that you make, right? Terms of service that you sign off on. However, but acting under orders from the government to suppress free speech. And there's evidence of that. Is a violation of the Constitution's First Amendment. Then came Part 2. And in essence, the Part 2 releases, without Baker no longer there being a choke point, revealed that there were blacklists and there was out-and-out, open shadow banning. And we've talked to you about this for years. I told you when I still had a Twitter account that my account was being shadow banned, that my account was being blacklisted, that the Twitter... Oh, that's conspiracy theory. No, conspiracy, but conspiracy reality. And I also told you when I got kicked off Twitter on January 8th, 2021, for saying that COVID was the freedom-stripping virus that had an adverse effect on the election, that we were targeted. And we were. And so were hundreds, if not thousands, of people. All violations of our First Amendment rights. The second installment, this from Zero Hedge, was released days after Musk fired former Deputy General Counsel James Baker, choke point, for filtering the first release. The new Twitter Files investigation reveals that teams of Twitter employees, choke points, built blacklists, prevent disfavored tweets from trending, and actively limit the visibility of entire accounts or even trending topics, all in secret without informing users. What else did it show? What many people call shadow banning, Twitter executives' employees call visibility filtering, which was implemented. Multiple high-level sources confirm this. Think about visibility filtering as being a way for us, Twitter, to suppress what people see to different levels. It's a very powerful tool, end quote, one senior Twitter employee said. Visibility filtering refers to Twitter's control over user visibility. It used the visibility filtering to block searches of individual users, to limit the scope of a particular tweet's discoverability, to block select users' posts from ever appearing on the trending page, and from inclusion in hashtag searches. And if you think it was just Twitter that did this, come on. Grow up. Every social media platform, and I can tell you, looking at our stuff, you name it, it's there. Look at what we're dealing with here. Look at the view counts. Look at the lack of notifications. Look at this, yeah. All of this at Twitter was done without a user's knowledge. Quote, "We control visibility quite a bit, and we control the amplification of your content quite a bit. And normal people do not know how much we do," end quote, one Twitter engineer said. 2 other additional Twitter engineers confirmed that fact. They go on, "The group that decided whether to limit the reach of certain users was the strategic response team and global escalation team. It often handled up to 200 cases a day. But there existed choke points, but multiple levels of choke points." These Twitter employees go on to say, "But there existed a level beyond official ticketing, beyond the rank and file moderators following the company's policy on paper. That is the site integrity policy escalation support team. The secret group included the head of legal, policy, and trust, that VJ God character, the global head of trust and safety, Yoel Roth, who stated that the FBI had regular weekly meetings with them about who to suppress and what to suppress. Subsequent CEOs Jack Dorsey and Parag Agrawal, and others, like who? Like maybe James Baker? Were all choke points." Now remember, Dorsey testified in front of Congress under oath. "Oh, we don't shadow ban. Oh, we don't limit." Ooh, Jack, you got yourself one big problem now. Yeah, we'll see what the Republicrats do, right? Because now we got the Republicans running the House. Let's see what they're going to do about it, huh? Yeah. This is where this high-end group, the high-end choke point, this is where the biggest, most politically sensitive decisions got made. Think high follower accounts being targeted. When I got kicked off and it was suppressed, we had 80,000 followers on Twitter. So one would consider anything over 10,000 reportedly a high volume. Okay, well. Think high follower count, controversial, not dishonest. Another Twitter employee told us for these, there would be no ticket or anything. Shh, not that. America First Legal Foundation has obtained new documents uncovering, in addition, a secret Twitter portal for U.S. government officials which could use to censor dissenting views and violate the First Amendment of the person quoting the information. COVID is the freedom-stripping virus that adversely affected the 2020 election. Yeah. More choke points. James Baker intercepted the Twitter files before they could get to TIB and scrubbed references to the FBI. Choke point. It has been revealed that Anthony Fauci's daughter worked at Twitter over the past several years. I go back to when Musk made his first offer for Twitter. Here's what he said. Quote, "I wanted to reach out personally to share my motivation in acquiring Twitter. There has been much speculation about why I bought Twitter. Most of it has been wrong. The reason I acquired Twitter is because it is important to the future of civilization to have a common digital town square where a wide range of beliefs can be debated in a healthy manner without resorting to violence." Hear, hear. There is currently great danger that social media will splinter into far right-wing and far left-wing echo chambers that generate more hate and divide our society. I agree. In the relentless pursuit of clicks, much of traditional media has fueled and catered to those polarized extremes. Remember, divide and conquer, right? Remember what they said when I first went to Reagan administration, right? Right-left axis, all theater meant to divide and conquer. Okay. As they believe that is what brings in the money and also division and makes the hierarchy safe, right? Because everybody's too busy pointing at each other in the field. In doing so, the opportunity for dialogue is lost, and that is what the syndicate fears. Dialogue, transparency, accountability, openness. Boom. The globalist choke points are gradually being removed. Now, here's what I believe is going to happen in 2023. What you see happening at Twitter, I believe you're going to see start happening, and I believe it is actually underneath the current, at other media companies, at other tech companies. Because Musk is not just setting a standard. He's setting a new way of life and a new way of living that is based on accountability and transparency and honesty. I believe you are going to see some significant changes this coming year. And you name the social media platform. And that is good for anybody that values individual empowerment, the Constitution, in particular freedom of speech, that values freedom and liberty. The syndicate wants you to believe there's nothing to look forward to this coming year other than more mayhem. And I'm sure there's going to be mayhem because that's what they do. However, understand something. I believe from a constitutional republic standpoint, and I don't mean because we got to whatever. The House is now in Washington is now Republican. Okay, they got to show themselves. Okay, they got to pull a Musk and do stuff. They can't just blah blah blah. Oh, we're against it, and then do nothing about it. Right? I'm tired of it. Remember, one political party, the Republicans, owned and operated by a criminal syndicate. Remember that. I've told you that since Operation Freedom went on air in October of 2010, and I told anybody who knew me that since I ended up in Washington doing the policy stuff and from 88 on. But the bottom line is, 2023, I believe we're going to bring some important and good changes for the freedom movement. Now, how can we push that along? Well, by each and every one of us not sitting on the couch, not consuming the bought-off lamestream fake media propaganda, listening to the independent media, providing food for thought, and then acting upon it, and then networking that information. Because the more people that are educated with the facts, the truth, the more people awaken, the more people become empowered, and the sooner we end this reign of terror, as I mentioned earlier, at the hands of the deep state. I thank you for joining me today. We are available 24/7 at davejanda.com with extra shows, extra content, extra guests, extra analysis, archives to all of our shows. We have a tremendous amount of free public content on the site. But where the real meat of the matter is, for 30 cents a day, $9 a month, sign up for a month. You don't have to sign up for it for a year. We put you, and if you ask any one of our subscribers, they'll tell you, that's not an overstatement. The stuff Janda and his team presents puts me months, if not years, ahead of this globalist constructed curve that ends in a brick wall with the smashing and the shattering of my freedoms and liberties. That's what we do. I thank you for joining me today. Until next time, Dave Janis signing off. Dream big and dare to fail. Thanks for joining me today.